guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about how I knew I was pregnant with twins, and I assume you clicked on this video because you're probably wondering the same thing. So I hope that you find this video helpful. Oh man. Woo!
I'm seeing you do that.
Why? So first of all, my first inclination that I was pregnant with twins was when I started to show early. I was only 10 weeks along, and this was, mind you, like my third pregnancy, and I had been pregnant before. I felt like I knew when I should start showing, and I just started to show really early for what I thought was early. And when I would I would tell my husband, like, I really feel like I'm showing early, or I'd tell my friends or my family. They all just felt like, well, it's your third time, like you always show quicker your third time. I'm sure, it's just maybe the baby's really huge. And I thought, wow, my baby's gonna be a giant. So I don't really know what to expect, but I just felt like something was a little bit off. So I started maybe thinking like I could be pregnant with twins. And to make things like a little more interesting was the fact that my friend became pregnant with twins, and she didn't have twins running in her family. So I felt like, wow, that's a possibility that could actually happen to someone who doesn't have twins running in their family. So I felt like at 10 weeks, I showed more like 16 to 18 weeks. That's what I felt like. And I will go ahead and insert photos either now or at the end of the video. That way you can see the difference between 10 weeks and 18 weeks. So the next thing that told me that I could be possibly pregnant with twins was at 12 weeks, I started to feel movements in weird places. And something that I noticed one day was I was laying on my couch and I was laying flat. I started to feel kicking, or at first I thought it might have been like a gas or something, because, I mean, let's get real, that's what pregnancy is about. Weird things happening to your body. So I considered maybe that's what it was. And I felt like kicking or butterflies down like near my groin area to the left side. And then at the exact same time that was happening, I felt the same sensation but up higher to my right side. And at first I thought, okay, like it probably is just gas. The fact that that was happening at the same time and they were kind of like far apart, I thought, no, that can't be the baby. But then as the weeks came, that feeling got stronger, obviously because the babies were growing. And I remember thinking like, this is not normal. Like, a baby should only be a few inches long. They're not long enough to stretch that far between like an area near your groin and the area near your ribs. So that just, not near my ribs, but up higher. And it just felt like that was too long of a distance for the baby to be stretching and making movements. And so I just remember thinking that's really odd, and it kept on happening. And so I knew that it was a possibility at that point. At 12 weeks, I knew it was a possibility. So around that 12-week mark was around the time that my midwife was going to go ahead and listen to the baby's heartbeat. And I remember going in, and I remember her putting the doppler on, and we heard the baby's heartbeat. But it was a little interesting because I felt like I was hearing two heartbeats. And at first she was like, well, that could also be your heartbeat. And so we want to make sure that we're getting only the baby's heartbeat. So she kept moving the doppler around. And so around, like after a few minutes, she mentioned too that the umbilical cord can also create like an echo effect sometimes. And so we would just see next time when I came in if the same thing was happening again or whatever. But she did say, like, obviously if twins are in your family, then that could be like, that could happen. But it was just like I really doubt it, but we'll see. So the next thing is just my intuition just kept telling me that I was pregnant with twins. And I felt like, I remember being at home, my husband was at work, my kids were napping, and I remember like I'd sit down on YouTube and I would like Google ultrasound, or finding out that you're pregnant with twins at an ultrasound, or twin surprise ultrasound. I wanted to know what it looked like on an ultrasound if you were having twins, and see like my body, like somehow I just knew I was pregnant with twins. And I was preparing myself, and it's just so funny, like looking back now, like how accurate that was. And I mentioned it to some people, like, I really think I'm having twins. And some of them were just like, you're crazy. Like, you just think that because your friends are having twins. And, you know, and I thought, well, thanks for making me sound crazy. But I was right. Like, it was so weird. The day of my ultrasound was really funny. So a lot of you know, like if you've watched my channel before, I talk about what I went through with my son Connor and how we found out that he was sick with tuberous sclerosis. And so leading up to my ultrasound, I had so much anxiety. I was terrified to find out that maybe this baby has the same problem. Even though his geneticist told us like there's no way that that would happen, still there was some sort of fear that that would somehow happen to me. And so I was very anxious about that. I was anxious, is there 2 babies in there? So it was just a whole lot of emotions, but I was also really excited to see my baby on screen. So I walked in and the technician looked at me to take me downstairs to the room, and we were in an elevator, and she looked at me and she said, so there's only 1 baby in there? And I said, well, I don't know. I feel pretty big for having only 1 baby, and I've been feeling like I could be pregnant with twins. And she said, I'm telling you now, you look way too big to be only having 1 baby. And when she said that, my heart just like it was insane. So we get into the room and my nerves were so bad. I did not know really what to expect. And so I laid down and she put the little doppler wand thing on my belly. Maybe 3 to 5 seconds it was on there, and she said, there's 2 babies in there. And my husband and my daughter Lacey were with me, and they were sitting off to the side, and I just remember my husband saying like, oh my gosh, yes. And my daughter was so excited, and we were going to find out the gender, just us, and then keep it a surprise from everyone else. But at that point, because then the technician was like, well, do you still want to be surprised at what gender it is? And at that point I was just like, no, I just need to know what the genders are, because this is enough of a surprise in itself. So we found out that we were having 2 girls, and when she said that there were 2 babies in there, I felt so lightheaded. Even though I was prepared and I had suspected it, I still was in so much shock. I just could not fathom the thought that my body was growing 2 babies. And which totally made sense, because I had a lot more nausea this time. I mean, when you think about it, your body's creating 2 human beings inside of your body, and your body's producing extra hormones more than it would with just 1 baby. And in turn, what happened was I ended up developing gestational diabetes because my body was producing so many hormones. And which was it was really hard for me. I was so excited to have twins, and twins is such a privilege to be able to have. I wasn't able to have my at-home birth with my midwife like I planned, so that was disappointing. And then at 29 weeks, I started going into preterm labor, and I was given medication to stop labor multiple times. And I finally went into active labor at 35 weeks, and they did a C-section on me. So my babies were born at 35 weeks, and they did amazing. They were only in the NICU for 1.5 weeks, and they were awesome. They did so great, and I wish I could have kept them in there cooking a little bit longer, but they just were so impatient to come out and meet us. I hope that this video was helpful for you in helping you figure out if you are maybe pregnant with twins. Obviously, everyone's different. Symptoms will be different with everybody, but this is what I found that really showed me that I was pregnant with twins. Go ahead and comment down below if you are also pregnant with twins, or if you might suspect that you're pregnant with twins, and please leave questions. I would love to answer questions if you have any, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. So something I forgot to mention, I'm so mad that I forgot to say this earlier. Twins did run in my husband's side of the family, which we did not find out until the night before my ultrasound. We were Skyping with his mom, and his mom, Cookie, likes to guess the gender just by looking at the mom's hips. She does that with all of her kids. She has a lot of kids. I'm just gonna say that right now. The woman's crazy. I love her though. Anyway, she said, oh, you are having girls and it is twins. She was so sure. And I found that so funny that she guessed that before my ultrasound. I'm telling you, like, she knows what she's talking about. Anyway, it did run in our family. My husband's grandma was a twin, but the reason no one really talked about it was because the baby actually passed away when it was only a few days old. So that's why no one really knew that it ran in our family. So I wanted to just put that in there. I'm sorry I didn't say it before. I hate when I start editing and I figure out that I left a huge piece of information out. That is so irritating. Anyway, yes, it did run in our family, but it is possible to get pregnant with twins without it running in your family. It is possible.